This episode of Superconnectivity is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Hello and welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is...
Phil, me, and Parrish.
Phil, you know what's the best part about being on Superconnectivity? Part of the Southgate Media family and the Nuff Said Network.
The love from the listeners?
Exactly! And we got no shortage of love this week. Two fan letters from longtime listeners, Caleb Van Darren and
Stockton Piner.
So let's start with Caleb since he's already up on my phone. Okay. I actually haven't read Caleb's letter yet because it gets hectic in life. And actually, he actually sent this on August 24th, so we actually might be a show behind for this. But anyway, Caleb, thanks for writing us. We are, as always, deeply indebted to you, the fans. You specifically, Kenneth Smyson, who writes in, and Stockton, and everyone else who is listening and not writing, but just enamored of our dulcet tones. We thank you so much. And Caleb writes, thank you guys for reading my letter on the show. I totally didn't mean any disrespect to Phil. He is awesome. No, he wants you to,
I know, I'm joking.
It's like me and I got two sons, I got Ben and Tris, and second you say one of them was good, the other one says, so I'm not good. It's like, no, I'm just saying your brother did a good thing. I think you're nice too. We love you both very much.
I'm the little brother, okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm an only child. I'm not used to I'm an only child. I'm not used to this, okay.
More often than not, it's the bigger brother that has the problem, so... I only meant that the way Charles speaks makes me feel smarter by listening, but Phil is just as knowledgeable, and I love his insights and opinions. Plus, he likes X-Men, so he's clearly a good guy.
Thank you.
It's funny you recommended The Ultimates because that was the number one title on my radar from all new, all different Marvel, as well as Black Panther, Sam Wilson, Uncanny Inhumans, and Doctor Strange. Uncanny Inhumans is one we actually have not read, so Caleb, if you like it, let us know. We should pick up the next one because we will certainly get it into the rotation. Those are the ones that caught my attention, especially Ultimates because it reminded me of Hickman's Marvel work, as well as Annihilation and all those cosmic stories I love. Also, DC Rebirth has me very intrigued. I never really read DC until last year or so. I got Batman Hush and love it. So then I got Grant Morrison's Batman run. It was good, but trippy and a little hard to follow, as well as Snyder's Batman. It was really good. And I picked up a few other random DCs, such as All-Star Superman and Seven Soldiers, because I think I like Grant Morrison, and the start of Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. So what I'm getting at is, what are your thoughts on DC Rebirth so far? Any titles that are must-read? I plan on getting both Batman and Detective, but if there was ever a time to jump further into the DC than Batman, I feel like now is the time. Anyways, sorry for the long letter, and I can't wait for the care package to get here and I find out what it is. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah.
Did he give us his? Oh, there it is.
It's in there. Yeah, I was gonna say. Sorry, Caleb. I was really busy this week. I worked a bunch of overtime at work because we don't get paid for this. So hopefully this weekend, if not this weekend, probably Monday, I'll get your package of comics out.
Yay. Okay. So he's asking about Rebirth, Phil, and as much as I enjoy the Superman Rebirth, which is what I would honestly I was not too impressed by any of the Batman book Rebirths, but then again I'm not a big Batman fan. But I did love the Superman Rebirth. And I actually really like the new Superman with the Superman of China Rebirth. That to me in its sort of I forget what it's called, the Department of Self-Reliance or something like that, has a real almost Amanda Waller Suicide Squad quality to it. So I really liked that myself. So those are my recommendations. But Phil, what are you thinking about the Rebirth?
All I can say is there are two books that keep popping up, and like me and Lilith both pick them as like picks of the week every time they come up. the first one, of course, is Nightwing because everyone knows my obsession with Nightwing. But the other book is Green Arrow. They've really turned that around since New 52. So yeah, so he said he likes the Batman book. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Nightwing and Green Arrow. They brought back a lot of the classic elements like Black Canary, and they even brought the goatee back. But yeah, no, the story is good. So and if you're a fan of the Arrow TV show, John Diggle's in there now too. So
okay. Now, Red Hood, are you feeling any love for Red Hood?
Oh yes, I totally forgot. Yes, I wasn't gonna pick it up, and then Lilith read like the first 2 issues or something, and she said, "Oh, you have to pick this up," and I was like, "Oh, great." I was like, I don't know. I had my problems with the last series, like, well, mostly the whole New 52 Red Hood. So I was like, I don't know. And then I heard, it's Artemis and Bizarro. But I picked it up the first 2 issues. It was basically just Red Hood. But oh my god, I fell in love with it. I'm getting it every month now. Yeah, because the first 2 issues were basically just centered on the Red Hood. But yeah, I think this is like the best Red Hood in years. Yeah,
but you see, for me, it's sort of like I have to do my Spider-Man protest, which is that I'm not going to read it until Otto comes back. And, you put Bizarro on the cover, and you do not deliver a Bizarro in that book. I'm sorry, sir. This is you will not fool me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. No. So when Bizarro shows up, I might pick up Red Hood and the Outlaws, but not before. And that is my firm statement. Right, so there you go, Caleb. A lot of books to read.
Yes.
No, go ahead, Phil.
No, I was just gonna say that's my 3 recommendations: Nightwing, Red Hood, and Green Arrow.
Yep, I got you both superhero books and Superman books. Although actually, there's actually like 6 other Superman books, but the 2 I'm reading are the new Superman, and then classic Superman. And I will be reading Super Sons when it comes out because I am interested in seeing the Jonathan Kent, Damian Wayne thing play out. For no other reason than the fact that Damian Wayne used to have like Superman powers and now doesn't, and so I think that's going to be interesting to see him go. I used to be able to do that, but maybe that's just my assumption. Okay, moving on. What did Mr. Stinton have to say this week, Phil?
Stockton Piner.
Oh, Stockton Piner. Why am I calling him Stinton? I don't know.
I don't know. He says, "Greetings, Phil and Charlie. Thank you guys for addressing my email regarding the Vision on the show. I'm glad you picked up issue 10 and that you enjoyed it. I find the scene with Viv and Vision praying to be particularly moving as well. I wish the book was continuing past issue 12, but since Tom King signed an exclusive deal with DC to write Batman, I think it is great that Marvel is letting him end the series as he sees fit. I wanted to write in this week to let you guys know that I decided to take you up on one of the books you constantly recommend, The Ultimates. So once again, another listener says they're going for Ultimates.
It's a great book, man. I have not been disappointed by an issue yet. I mean, honestly.
I had not picked it up due to budgetary constraints. We hear you. But my local comic store was running a sale, so I grabbed the first 4 issues. And in all caps, oh my goodness, what an amazing book. Yes. I've been a fan of the Black Panther and Captain Marvel's characters, but didn't know much about the other members of the team. I love the diverse unit that Al Ewing and company assembled here, and his cosmic storytelling is simply mind-blowing. Each character feels fully fleshed out, and the group works better together than any other Marvel team. The fact that each issue opens with the Blue Marvel briefing the public on their activities clearly shows that these characters truly understand how to best operate in this universe. The art by Kenneth Rocafort and colors by Dan Brown breathe life into the story in eye-popping fashion. This is Marvel Cosmic at its finest. Thank you guys so much for this recommendation. I'm going to grab a few more issues now. Marvelously yours, Stockton Piner. P.S. Denzel for Adam Brashear in the MCU.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, if they give Denzel that little gray around the temples, oh, yeah. He might be able to pull off the gray all on his own now, but I'm just saying, Brashear, Denzel as Brashear, that would be awesome. And hey, we don't know what's happening next because there is stuff going on in the MCU. I think that they're playing it close to their vest, but I think they've got something big coming up. And hey, Marvel Comics, we just got two new readers for the Ultimates because we are talking up your books. Show us a little love.
Yeah, we don't want money. We just want just send us books.
Yeah, man, just help us to help you. Help us to let us read your books, and we will get people to read your books because your books are good. And if you got a book that says, "Hey, we really need people to pick up this book," let us know. We're going to help you out because we are Marvel fans and we want to help.
We'll be your hype men. All we need is free comics, and as I was saying, yeah, we're hype men. All we want is free comics. Plus, you'll be promoting literacy because we have children, and I'm sure our children will read them.
Yeah, all my kids read my comic books eventually.
My son's 3, but I'll read them to him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I actually love to let my kids read the comic books. One of the biggest problems I think sometimes is just that they'd rather play on their Kindles, but that's what digital books are for.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So, but I'm really glad that we were able to introduce you guys to the Ultimates. Keep listening to us for further recommendations. We are Phil and I are comic book fans first, podcasters second. We are here because this is an avocation for us. This is a love for us. We love comic books and talking about comic books, and so we're not here just to hear ourselves talk or just to feed into some personal fandom. This is about just the love of the art form, and I do think we do love that art form.
Oh yeah.
And speaking about the art form, and what I did say earlier is I do think that there is this. Speaking of Denzel for Blue Marvel, and whether or not we're ever going to get a Blue Marvel in the MCU, I do wonder sometimes with the Superman pastiches how much leeway Marvel has in film and television if they're going to get. Because we know that DC can be litigious, Although, I'll say now that DC's getting some critical praise for their comics, maybe they're actually, as well as actually selling actual books, maybe they're going to be a little less picky on this kind of stuff. But we'll have to see. But right now, so the latest news, and this I actually wanted to talk about something different. So I'll talk about what my first issue was with this, and then I'll go into if it's real. So the biggest news in the Marvel Universe this week is about. Did you see this, Phil? Do you know what I'm going to talk about?
I'm not sure.
It's a young woman with the proportional powers of a squirrel.
Oh, about possible casting.
Well, no, possible existence. As far as I know, it has not been confirmed yet. Right now, people are saying is that they're going to do a new Warrior series centered around Squirrel Girl.
Oh, yes. TV is it a TV show, correct?
Yeah, TV show. Presumably, this is going to be. I'm going to assume it's going to be part of the Mind Spring, although I don't think that's been confirmed or even rumored yet. And I would assume that it's going to grow out of the Cloak and Dagger-averse. And that I'm guessing they're probably if you want to give a counterbalance idea, what you could imagine is that the Squirrel Girl and the New Warriors will be the Flash to the Cloak and Dagger's Arrow. That you're going to have something that's maybe a little more that Cloak and Dagger will be your more somber. Young teen superhero series, and then in that same universe, you're going to have a Squirrel Girl, which will be, just as good, but maybe a little lighter. Now, I for one, of course, welcome our new Squirrel Girl overlords. Well, people have been asking for Squirrel Girl on the internets for a while now. People have been saying they should, and in fact, I think Rob South. I'm going to say officially, mark my words, that if you actually go through the records, you're going to find that the first person to recommend that Marvel do a young adult Squirrel Girl series was Rob Southgate. He's the first person I heard say that that's what Marvel needs to do. Marvel needs to have that, differentiation of characters, that they can have their dark and gritty, but they should also have the light and stuff and do. I think what he actually said was that, they should do, an R-rated Deadpool, but then do a G-rated Squirrel Girl. But the same premise it holds, is that, Marvel should have this diversity of voices and diversity of product to present to the world. Now, all that said, I don't believe this story at all. Much like Zendaya playing Mary Jane.
You still don't buy that?
And I still don't buy it. I still don't buy it. Not because... Here's what I'm going to say. I buy that Zendaya is the love interest.
Mm-hmm.
I might even buy that she's going to be Michelle Watson. But I think to say, oh, she's playing Mary Jane basically misses the point. Which is that whatever character Zendaya is playing, it is a character in this Peter Parker's universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that getting either wound up or wound down, excited or angered by this idea that maybe this character is going to have some traits related to Mary Jane is ridiculous. You know, we knew that she was probably going to be the love interest. We knew that, you know, her name was Michelle. You know, one of Peter Parker's love interests over the years was Mary Jane. Is she Mary Jane or is she going to be Michelle? I think she's going to be Michelle. And there may be qualities of Michelle that are going to be very in line with Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think she's going to be Mary Jane. I think that if they were going to, you know, if they wanted to say she was Mary Jane, I think they would have just said she was Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that it came out suggests that it's false. And the fact of the matter is that, and this is something I have harped on for a while, which is that, now we do a lot of speculation on this show, and we do a lot of fan theory. But we also call out our fan theory as fan theory. You know, we don't sit here and say, well, I heard that, you know, it's going to be the Squadron Supreme is going to be the main villains of next season's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, even though there are reasons to think that could be, we don't present it as such. We present it as, hey, you know what would be cool is if they do LMD Squadron Supreme, that we get these superhumans in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that we get this more expanded superhumanic universe, which I think is something that they are building to.
Mm-hmm.
But we present it as our theories, whereas on the internet, there are a lot of people that are out there that are basically making stuff up as their theories for their reasons, mostly just to get hits, mostly just to be a click hole.
Oh yeah, clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to call them click holes. Based off of the Onion website, Clickhole. But also, I think it's a great derogatory term for people who make up things, like the Onion makes up things, just to get you to click on it.
I like that. Don't be a clickhole.
Yeah, don't be a clickhole, man. These are a bunch of clickholes.
You need to put that on a T-shirt. Don't be a clickhole.
Yeah, who are basically just putting out things that they just made up, literally just made out, pulled fully formed from the head of Zeus, these ideas. And we remember, like I said, I remember this when Avengers came out. And there was all this talk about, oh, you see, well, that's Wakanda. And what's going to happen is you're going to have Black Panther. And he's going to be, oh, Wakanda's, you know, in all these financial difficulties because Black Panther is mismanaging it. And then not at all. None of that was the case. None of that was the case when we actually got to Wakanda in Civil War. When we actually got to Wakanda, we said, no, this is freaking Wakanda. This is the Wakanda of Ta-Nehisi Coates and every other writer who's ever done Wakanda, which is that this is, you know, freaking, you know, the most advanced, technologically advanced superhuman society on Earth. They did not, what was basically an imperialist view of Wakanda. They did not go for that. They went with what Wakanda has always been in the comics. And I think that's what's important to remember here, that people are saying things to get attention. Click holes are out there. A click hole is basically, here's what I'm going to say. A click hole is basically the opposite of a troll. A troll is someone who is out there who's trying to build themselves up by just saying lousy stuff in the comic section. A click hole is someone who is trying to get attention by just posting articles as if they were fact. Like they're actually on the top, they're above the comment section. But they're still doing the same thing trolls are, which is they're creating something that is just to get attention, that is just to get people looking at that and either upvoting it or downvoting it. It doesn't matter. They're just looking for the attention.
Yeah,
and
they put up flashy headlines and they want all this traffic to their website. It's like, you know, headline, Stan Lee is dying, and then you click on it and it opens up and it's like, well, really? So he kind of is, you know, we're all dying every day.
Yeah, well, you know, it is. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's I don't want Stan Lee to be done in by that serial killer, Baby 2016. Man, that is like the worst serial killer this year.
Oh, I know.
Oh God,
poor Gene Wilder.
Yeah, man. Although you know what I always say, it's like, just before Gene Wilder, do you know who also died?
Huh?
Mr. Fuji.
Oh, yeah.
WWE, and it kind of like reminded me of when China died. And then, like, the next, and it was like, oh, China's dead. We all remember China. Oh,
then
poor
was
gal.
It Prince? Wasn't it Prince?
And Prince died. And it was like, oh, Prince is dead. Oh, and it's like, man, don't take poor China's thunder. And I love Gene Wilder. I really love Gene Wilder. I've been a fan of his forever. Honestly, I've seen every film him and Richard Pryor did. I've seen. I think I've seen every film, and actually he is the star of what is probably my hands down favorite film of all time, which is The Frisco Kid. It is honestly, it's just one of those films that just I could watch The Frisco Kid with Harrison Ford and Gene Wilder, who sadly never did another buddy comedy. Because they were fantastic together. They were really great together.
Well, yeah. He was just great on his own. So many good movies. Of course, people have been talking about Willy Wonka and Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddle, yeah. But he did a lot of really great films. But it's very sad that he went. But it's also a little frustrating when you're a celebrity who dies and then another celebrity who's more famous dies and you don't get your moment in the sun.
Poor
it's
Mr.
like
Fuji.
Yeah, poor Mr. Fuji. I actually, because here's the thing: I only knew Mr. Fuji as the character, and then this is my one chance to find out who Fujiwara is his actual name. I can't remember his first name. I want to say it was Anthony Fujiwara, but anyway, he was a Japanese American born in Hawaii who, made a character for himself, a great heel, became the heel manager. He was sort of like he was the Roddy Piper to Captain Lou Albano's Hulk Hogan. Your good manager and your evil manager, and and that was when I was a kid in the 80s, man, that was it. It was Mr. Fuji and Captain Lou Albano as the managers, and I loved those guys, I always liked the managers a bit more even than the wrestlers, because the managers got to have more of a persona, I felt, in a lot of times. Because, you got to be a manager in wrestling when you sort of aged out of wrestling. So only the very best wrestlers got to be managers. I'm a little disappointed that Mankind hasn't managed anyone yet. Oh man, I'm actually forgetting what Mankind's actual name is now. I follow him on Facebook and I can't remember his name, but these are great wrestlers who had great personas, and then they moved on to become these great managers. And when I was a kid, the managers were the guys who talked. You didn't always have the wrestlers didn't talk as much. The ones who talked are the ones you knew who talked, which was Randy Macho Man Savage and Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper. And, Junkyard Dog might have talked occasionally, but really, most of the guys who talked were the managers, because the managers were the guys who could actually, their personas didn't require them to be as loud or as gruff, and they could actually tell a bit better of a story. And so, that was what you evolved into, was you became a manager. And I've always appreciated that in the wrestling art form. But of course, you never get to know who these guys are until you get their bios after they pass away. And so it's a little disappointing that, Mr. Fuji passed away, and then almost immediately Gene Wilder came and became rightly so that moment. There was this HBO series I used to love, called Dream On. I don't know if you've ever seen it. But it was like one of these early 80s HBO series, like one of the first made for HBO series. And of course, its whole shtick was that there was one naked person in every episode. And basically, it was this guy, and he'd have all these little interstitial fantasy scenes where he would remember these old TV shows that sort of defined his life as a child. And, but they'd play him in certain contexts that made everything seem a little dirty. Anyway, so he had this, his wife essentially goes on to marry this world famous surgeon who's also like this great humanitarian, and he's rich and world famous. I'm trying to remember the actress who plays his wife, who was in a lot of things. I'm just blanking on everyone's name right now, but she why can't I remember her name? She was on Just Shoot Me. She was the ex model who is now the editor there. Anyway, but she was fantastic, and I always love to see her in anything I see her in, but I can't remember her name now. But anyway, so she married this doctor, and it just was like every time that the main character ever wanted to ever accomplish something, all of a sudden the doctor would show up, and not in like a horrible way, not in like a way where he was trying to screw the guy over, but would just always wind up overshadowing him. And it was like this whole thing where, the guy's birthday, the main character's birthday becomes this day to honor the doctor after the doctor dies in the story. And it's just this ongoing situation. And that's how I feel about the whole celebrity death when this year, because, you used to not previous years, I don't think you had this as much. I think when you would get these middle level celebrities dying, but no one else would die right away. So you'd actually get that moment to really remember, oh yeah, that character actor. And like this year, man, it's just like every beloved character actor is just dropping like flies, and they're not even getting the notice because freaking Alan Rickman and Prince and David Bowie are all the people are talking about. It's like, hey, I was that beloved character from those shows you liked. It's like, we don't care. Alan Rickman is dead. That's who we're gonna care about.
I'm just thinking, playing the odds. I mean, all the people who passed away in 2016, maybe 2017, no famous people will pass away.
Well, that would be great. Which means that we might be able to hang on to Stanley until 2018.
He has to live till Infinity War.
Yeah, he's got to make. Man, I tell you what, man, if Stanley's writing is to be believed, because I think I don't know if he actually created. Well, I think he actually introduced the first Elder of the Universe, which was the Collector. I think, or was that? No, that might have been one of that, because that was in the Avengers. I don't think he was writing the Avengers at the time. But the basic idea that the Elders of the Universe, they kept going because they had some inane hobby. Staved off death. So they were the gardener, they were the collector, they were the grandmaster, they were the champion. That was why they could defeat death, because they always had an obsession that they had to get better at something. They had to always do something. There was always that other thing they had to do, so they could not die yet. And when it comes to Stanley, I think that's where he's at. It's just there's always one more cameo he has to do. So long as the Marvel Cinematic Universe keeps going, I think Stanley will be sticking around. And that is my hope. That is my prayer. Because I don't know what I'm going to do on the day when Stanley is no longer with us. Stanley is one of these guys you just want to know he's there, and it just makes the world just a slightly better place that Stanley's still within it. You say what you will about him. You can see him as the Edison to your Tesla of Ditko or Kirby, but I'm going to say, you know what? It's still a Edison General Electric light bulb in the that we're comic books by. So take that, Tesla. Moving right along. Let's see here. So, man, we really got off topic today. What else is going on in the Marvel Universe right now, Phil?
I don't know. I mean, we really didn't get any more movie or TV news, did we?
No, not really. I mean, really, last week we covered pretty much everything, which was the Thor news, all the Doctor Strange theories. This week it was really just Squirrel Girl ends and the MJ stuff. I mean, we do have one thing. Actually, there is one thing. Hannibal Buress has said he is Peter Parker's gym teacher. because Hannibal Buress has revealed what his character is Peter Parker's gym teacher. Now, and we go, that's interesting. You know, what's going to come of that? Let me tell you what's going to come of that. Dun dun dun. I'm calling it now. Mark my words. Hannibal Buress is the Taskmaster.
Oh.
Because as I've said, I'm looking at this casting news, and I'm getting, that's a former S.H.I.E.L.D. guy, or the former Howling Commander is now the principal. Well, that's interesting. In the Marvel Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, which I gotta think they're gonna reference, because that's what a lot of kids that's their introduction to Spider-Man right now, is the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. And in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, Tony Masters was Peter Parker's gym teacher, because he knew that there were superheroes at that school and he had to track them down. So mark my words, Hannibal Buress. I don't think they've said what the character's name is, but when it is, you're going to hear, he's Coach Masters. He's playing Coach Masters. And no one's going to think of it, because people aren't going to be as deep into it as you and me are, who know that it's been revealed that the Taskmaster's actual name is Tony Masters.
Come on, Charlie. Mark your words.
I'm marking them. Hannibal Buress is playing the Taskmaster. Sorry, everyone who wanted Ward to be the Taskmaster. It's going to be Hannibal Buress. It's going to be a slightly lighter version of the Taskmaster. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, I'll bet you Hannibal Buress is going to be able to really get scary when he wants to. He's a comic actor. But the fact of the matter is, comic actors, they can get dark. I mean, heck, anyone who saw, what was it called? I think it was called The Driver, and which had Albert Brooks as a mob boss. And he's just so Albert Brooks, and I'm the nice guy, and da. And then it's like, yeah, and now I'm gonna have to kill you, because that's what's scary, is that guy who is in every external way a benevolent character until that moment when it's like, well, now you have to die, Sorry. And of course, that is the crux of sociopathology. I think that is one of the reasons why a character like the Joker gets so popular and gets so big, is because he is a clown, and he is silly, and he is funny, and he can be played that way. And then you never balk for 1 minute when he suddenly turns, and it's like, no, it's not a joke anymore. I'm actually gonna, murder y'all. I'm gonna straight up murder y'all. Yeah. Speaking of the Joker, there was a funny meme I wanted to call out recently. I don't know if you saw this, which was a person put up this meme. It said, "Man, just heard about this new Batman remake with a Latino Joker and an African American Catwoman. Can't wait to see this break the internet." And of course, it's Cesar Romero and Eartha Kitt. Yeah. But it just goes to show you how meaningless modern butthurt is over these. That really all this stuff had been done for decades, and no one cared. No one cared that Eartha Kitt was Catwoman. No one cared that Cesar Romero who I actually still say was one of the really great Jokers. I really think Cesar Romero's Joker was a truly delightful Joker. I mean, yes, he didn't do as much violence in the series, but at the same time, he was so. Here's what I'm going to say: Cesar Romero's Joker, to me, I'd say is scarier than like a Jared Leto's Joker, because Jared Leto, he walks in crazy.
Yeah.
And and the same thing for that other guy. What was his name?
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. They're walking in crazy. They're walking in. Mm-hmm. Scary. They're walking in as scary clowns.
Yes.
Cesar Romero is that slightly off, unhinged clown. He's the clown that, okay, let's get into your van because you have candy. Because he's just delightful enough, I think when you talk about scary clowns, I think that's what Tim Curry brought to it, was that Tim Curry is a delightful actor. Mm-hmm. And I think when he's in that clown, you almost can imagine Tim Curry being a delightful clown. And then, of course, he eats you. Oh, okay.
Oh man, you know what? You've introduced so many words into people's vocabulary tonight. I think I have the phrase for any merchandise we put out. Go get why don't you get over your modern butthurt, you clickhole?
Well, it really is. It really is just this totally modern thing of people, of characters they didn't create, demanding ownership of these things.
People want to be. People want to be. What do I want to say? Not insulted, but they want their modern butthurt. I don't know if they think it's going to get them attention or.
It is. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. Is they want someone to look at them and say, "Aren't you special?"
Yeah. Oh, you stood up for this or that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's and it's like when the female Ghostbusters came out, and everyone was like, oh, that's ruining my childhood, and all I could say. Well, it says, yes, I miss Tracy the Gorilla too. But the fact of the matter is he hasn't been part of the Ghostbusters since the 80s. I mean, that's these. For those who don't remember, the original Ghostbusters were Tracy the Gorilla, Jake Kong, and blanking on the other guy's name. I believe Jake Kong was played by Larry Storch, or Larry Storch played the other guy, and then the other guy was Jake Kong. But anyway, they were the original Ghostbusters in the original Sid and Marty Krofft Ghostbusters series, which, of course, the name of which was the inspiration for the later Ghostbusters with Harold Ramis and them, and which wasn't originally called Ghostbusters, but then they came across the name Ghostbusters, and then they made it, which got into this whole thing with Filmation, because they said, well, no, actually, we're the Ghostbusters. That's our name. You can't just choose it. Yeah. And then they went into this whole thing. But, but it is this idea that, these characters have been reinvented a million times. Nobody gets to own them. Nobody gets to say, and hey, even though I've said it, I've said it myself, nobody gets to say Superman wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. That's one of these other memes that people have pointed out, which was that, that Superman in Superman 2 actually does kill Zod and Ursula and what's his name? The big guy.
Non.
He kills Zod, Non, and Ursula in that film. Mm-hmm. Although they die off screen. So there is this argument, we don't see them die, we don't know that they're dead, which is the counter argument in that whereas in Superman it's like, oh no, he straight up kills them. So yeah, because you got to remember that in the 80s when someone fell off something, you didn't necessarily assume they died because you had some level of cartoon physics there. But you can certainly argue that Superman did certainly kill all three of the Kryptonians in that, and we never see them again, so who knows? But, it is this idea that, these things have been around and that you're just now noticing it doesn't give you the right to complain. You don't get the right to complain just because, today I've decided to complain. Mm-hmm. Like, these things have been around for a long time. These things have been stuff that have existed and do exist and will exist in these comic book and movie universes. And you just got to get over it. And you know what? Here's what I'll always say. If the film is bad, then it'll be bad, whether that's Catwoman, whether that's Green Lantern, whether that's, Ben Affleck's Daredevil, just so that we're not going to just pick on DC, whether it's the most recent Fantastic Four. If the film is bad, it'll be bad all on its own. It doesn't need your help to say, oh, how horrible is this that they've done this? Because whoever you cast as the Ancient One, whoever you cast as Johnny Storm, those aren't the factors that make it a bad film. What make it a bad film is if it's poorly written and poorly acted and poorly directed. Any one of those three things are what's going to kill a film. And it doesn't need that they're making a reinterpretation of the story to make it a bad film. And I'll always go back to this. The Incredible Hulk, which we talk about every Saturday, is a really fun and enjoyable adaptation of the Hulk, even though it has literally nothing to do with the Hulk comic book upon which it is based. It has less to do with the Hulk comic book upon which it is based than the 1960s Batman had to do with the comic books of Batman. You know, it is that further separated from it. But it's still good because it captures. If you would like to know more about the Hulk, please swing over to the 80s Reboot Overdrive podcast. Check out the Gamma Cast. Currently, Phil is my co-host on this. We go over all the episodes of the classic 1980s Hulk series. And if you would like to, since Phil is the busiest man in podcasting, I will not be able to hang on to him forever as my co-host. So if you're interested in co-hosting, please drop us a line at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet the Incredible Hulk 7 o'clock on Saturdays at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And Phil, how can they reach out to you if they'd like to talk to you about all of their click-holding butt hurt?
If any of you clickholes want to talk Marvel or DC Comics with me, you can always email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com, and on Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to us once again to Superconnectivity. I hope you've enjoyed. Please connect with us again. Good night.